I'm Will Tuttle, and I went vegan when I learned about the abuse of animals for food and other products. And I think it's all about community. I realized that the only reason I ate meat and dairy products was because of the community I was raised in. And right after college, when I was 22 years old, I lived in a community of people who were vegetarians, and they told me about the cruelty to animals and also about how we feed so much grain to animals while people are starving. So I became a vegetarian at the age of 22, and then about 5 years later, I learned about the abuse of animals for dairy products and eggs, and so I became a vegan. And that was now 35 years ago, and it was the best choice I think I ever made in my life. Yes, I think vegans are neither tolerant nor intolerant of people who are not vegan. I think it's really a question of raising awareness. And in any crime that's committed publicly, there's always three roles that are enacted. There's the victim, the perpetrator, and the bystander, or the witness. And so in the situation we have today, we have lots of victims, the animals, and lots of perpetrators, people who are taking out their wallets and paying for meat, dairy products, and eggs, and they're locked in a violent relationship. And so just as in a crime that's committed publicly, the victims are hoping that the bystanders will say something to help them. In the same way, as vegans, we are the only ones who can help to solve this problem and bring harmony to the situation. So I think as vegans, we need to learn how to be skillful and effective in helping people who are eating animal foods to question that behavior. That is the only way that we're going to be able to stop the devastation of our planet. So as vegans, it's not a question of being tolerant or not. It's a question of being skillful in raising awareness and helping people to awaken to the natural wisdom and compassion that we have. This is Dr. Will Tuttle. As vegans, we're always looking for a secret button we can push to help people stop eating animal foods. And I don't think there's such a button, but I do think there's one main idea that we should share with people who are pre-vegans, who are not yet vegans, and that is that the only reason anyone eats animal foods is because of the culture we're born into. We're just following orders. And so as vegans, we have been able to question the official stories of our society and move away from that. So I think this one idea is very important to share, that if anyone's eating animal foods, they're not doing it out of their own free choice. They're doing it simply because they're following orders that were given to them from the time they were little infants, and these are not in their best interest. It's in no one's best interest for us to eat meat, dairy products, and eggs. It's devastating to ourselves, to the earth, to animals, to future generations, to hungry people, to slaughterhouse workers, and it's time for us to understand that and bring this awareness to people who are still eating animal foods. Okay, what's a better word? Anti-speciesism or veganism? I think they're both very good, actually, and I've also created my own word, which is herderism. And the basic idea is that we're born into a society that's organized around herding animals, around owning them as property for food. And in any society that's organized around eating animal foods, which is organized around herding animals, you're going to have speciesism and you're going to have non-vegan living. So I think when we understand that, we're raised in this society that there's inherent violence, and speciesism leads to racism and sexism and classism and all the human injustice that we're experiencing, because when we look at animals and see them merely as objects to be used, that's a form of violence, and we very easily then begin to do the same thing with each other. So the whole idea is, I think, to see what veganism is essentially, as a word coined by Donald Watson in 1944, to do the best we can to minimize the abuse and cruelty to other living beings. And speciesism and anti-speciesism are basically the same thing. They're pointing at questioning the underlying mentality. And I think the idea of herderism, which is actually explains why we have both of those words, that we live in a herding culture, and it's time for us to create a non-herding culture, a culture based on gardening, on kindness and caring for animals and plants, and living a plant-based way of living for food and for every product, and we can do that. This is Dr. Will Tuttle, and my message for anyone, whether you're a vegan or not, is to question the official stories of our society. Question the protein story, question the calcium story, question the human superiority story, and to learn to connect, really, I think all of us, with our own hearts, with the inner wisdom and compassion and sense of justice and kindness within ourselves, and let ourselves live from that and bring our behavior into alignment with these values. And if we do that and make an effort to do that every day, we will not only be happier and healthier ourselves, we'll create a world that's happier and healthier and more sustainable, where peace and freedom and justice and equality are actually possible.